Hello, hello, it's Christine Jewell. Welcome back to the show. Today I'm coming to you live solo cast. It's just me riffing, sharing some things that are on my heart. Today we're going to talk about what it means to get our house in order. I want to talk about some symptoms, some things that I've seen through different circles, through my own life, through coaching clients that are symptoms of unrest, division inside of our house. So I want to talk about what are some of those symptoms, what are some of the things I see, and what gets to happen. I'm going to share 5 things that I believe are essential to getting your house in order. And why is this even important? This entire conversation is inspired by Mark 3:25 that says, if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And here's what I see. I see people, men and women, leaders running out into the world, wanting God to bless their business, to bless them financially. Like, I want to see the results of the fruit of my work, right? I want to see the results of all my hard work. I want things to work out. I want things to grow. Like, why are my people not, succeeding, getting together? Why are sales not increasing? Why isn't our business fill in the blank? And I see a lot of striving. I see a lot of chasing, a lot of trying to put more band-aids on things, right? Always putting fires out or putting band-aids on things just to try to get through maybe a season, a moment, another day. And then often getting frustrated because sometimes we feel like, man, my heart is in the right place. My heart is in the right place. But why is nothing working out the way I want it to? Like, why is there so much friction in the business, maybe between the teams, between the leadership? Why does it feel so hard? Right? Why does it feel so hard at home? Maybe. And so I just want to preface this that I am speaking more general today, but I'm also speaking from personal experience. As always with this podcast, with this show, I'm sharing my own personal experiences. I'm sharing a lot of my beliefs and, my experience with scripture, with the word of God, and what I believe that his word is saying to us. And that's really what my foundation is, as I come back to and I look at what are all the things that I just was really struggling with that were causing so much stress, anxiety, sleepless nights, misunderstandings. And where am I today? And what was that bridge that I overcame? What was that thing that got me to like kind of lock in, right? And experience more flow in my life, more ease in my life, more unification in my marriage, more peace inside of our home, right? More joy day to day. What is that? And so when I'm sharing this today with you guys, is process. These are 5 things that we work on a regular basis. That's why I talk about them a lot on my podcast. And if I want you to really, I want to invite you to really tune in and check in with yourself, to ask yourself in these 5 key areas, how am I doing? Am I in the right place? Have I got this right? Does it feel right? Is it right according to what God says? Because if it's not, if something is off, you got to get to work on it. So I want to say that if we are sitting here and we're hustling and we're grinding and we're chasing and we're pushing and we're doing all the things according to the world, and there is still division and dissension and grumbling and miscommunication, something's off, right? It doesn't take a brain scientist, a rocket scientist, a brain surgeon to realize something is off. What is that? And so I believe that God is a God of order. I believe that he's a king of a kingdom, and there's a structure and order in the kingdom, in the way that we are called to operate our lives, to run our lives, to run our businesses. And when we start messing things up and we get things out of order, we have chaos. We experience chaos, right? We experience strife, which is just that strife. So let's talk about 5 things that we see. Number one, and before I even start, I want to say this. I do not, this is a personal belief based on my life and based on my experiences. I do not believe that God will bless your business, your career, your endeavors of the work if internally your house, your home is out of order. If your house is a mess, if your internal house is a mess, meaning your body, your heart, your mind, like if internally you're a hot mess, okay, and I mean this from the place of love, because I know sometimes we all feel like, man, I'm a hot mess every other day. But you know what I'm talking about when you're fighting against yourself all the time, when it feels like you're leading multiple lives, multiple personalities, and there's always this internal tension, internal war, where you're trying to be all these different things and there's a restlessness inside. We have got that's the first place we need to start. We need to start with that internal house, which is your body, which is the temple of God, which is the house of the Spirit, your spirit and the Spirit of God. So I want to start by saying that if we don't start in the right place, you guys hear me saying this all the time. It's like trying to spray paint a tree, the leaves of a tree green and call it a tree, but the roots are sick. So again, I do not believe from my own life. You may experience some blessing for a short amount of time. You may experience some growth, but it will not be sustainable. You will not be able to multiply it over time. You will not have peace in the process for longer than 5 seconds because you're going to be anxious again. If our internal house, the first order of business, is not in right order, nothing outside can stand sustainably and multiply and prosper. Prosper means it will go well with you, right? That as you grow, as you go, the journey will be well with you. Some of you are experiencing maybe growth in your businesses, in your teams, externally. Maybe you're really struggling with it, but it's not going well with you. You don't have peace in the process. And every day it's costing you. It's costing you mental bandwidth. It's costing you energy. It's costing you your relationships. Man, the price of being out of alignment, the price of being out of order, it's costly. It's expensive. When we start compromising our relationships, we start compromising our health, we start compromising our time to invest in our children, which are the future generations. We start compromising everything in order for some external sense of peace. It will not go well with us. We already know that is not the path of prosperity. That is the path that leads to destruction, right? Haughty feet, like rushing, being frenetic. That's the path that leads to destruction. That's directly from Proverbs. I was journaling about that this morning. That if we're always moving in haste and we're always quick to just react and needing to chase and needing to fix it on the external things, focused on pride, man, we are on the wrong path. We are building the wrong house and we're building it on quicksand. So internal house, get that in order. That's first thing, is our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with God, our relationship with ourselves. If you want to get that right, you got to work on your relationship with God, because we're sitting here talking about who am I? What am I? I don't know myself. Here's what I hear to tell you, that if you know who God is, you know who you are, because you are created in his image. I'm created in his image. So the more that I press in, if I start doubting myself, I go through moments where I'm being stretched, maybe my confidence is starting to wane. Usually it's because I'm fixating on me, me, me. What about me? Do I have what it takes? Well, what will people believe about me? What about me? Do I, whatever, am I experienced enough? Do I have enough money? It's always something about me and being enough. Isn't it crazy? But here's the thing, when I start focusing on him and who he is and what he has and how he moves and how he is victorious, like, I'm more than enough. Hello? So I get that internal relationship right, because now I'm not fixated on my lack and then I need to go fill that gap with something external, which we know it's an illusion, a delusion, but I focus on the one that makes it full on the inside, that makes me full on the inside. So I want to say that our first order of business is getting right relationship with ourselves, with God. Okay. The second relationship that I think is so important is that relationship. If you are in relationship, you're married. Whoo, this is a big one. You got to get your marriage right. You guys got to get unified. It is crazy how many of us, and I'm going to raise my hand because I live this life. You guys know I live this life. I talk about it so much in the book, where I was in relationship, but I was operating as two completely different people, different visions, different dreams, different plans, different ways of how we wanted to handle finances. It was like, you do you, I'll do me. As long as you don't step on my terrain, I'm good. As long as I don't step on yours, you're good. And you know what? We're just here to hang out and have a good time. And as long as, I don't care what happens over there, just don't mess with my stuff. And I just see so many marriages. You guys, I see so many marriages still operating like this. where we come in, and this is a program of the world. This whole thing about you just take care of you, make sure that you're financially looked after, you make sure that you're good, and let them worry about themselves. There is some truth to that. But you know what? It's like everything in the world. They take what God intended and distorts it. So yes, you need to love yourself in a sense of being able to take care of your mind. You have a responsibility to take care of your mind, to take care of your heart, to work on your spirit, to work on your physical health so that you can bring a vibrant, healthy human being that is brings life to a relationship. Yes, we have a responsibility for that. But when you enter into a relationship, marriage, covenant with someone, now we have oneness, right? We have introduced the concept of one. The word says that a man will leave his mother and his father and will become one with his wife. And this is so strong with me this year as Mark and I again chose our word supernatural unity. God continues to reveal to us what it really means, what it looks like, what it feels like to be of one mind in our marriage, of one heart, of one sight. That means our eyes are fixated on the one main thing, right? Our hearts are unified over the one main thing. Our spirits are one. Our flesh is one. That's why the sacredness of sex is so important, right? Protecting sexuality, your sexuality, what you give your sexual energy to inside of a marriage. Because if it starts to get dispersed and you're looking sideways and you're dabbling with things on the side, you cannot experience oneness. What you experience is dividedness, division, and you are opening doors. You are opening all kinds of doors for the enemy to walk right into your marriage. So I'm talking about emotional affairs, looking at things, whether it's just like seems like innocent things on TV or porn or just flirtatious things. There's all kinds of distortions in our world right now about sexuality. And I wasn't even going to go down that road, but for some reason I did. So I'm going to go with it. The oneness that happens when you're in a marriage, it's unification. That unification is multiplication power. When God put Adam and Eve in the garden and he said, the two of you multiply, prosper, have dominion over that which I gave you. Now multiply and prosper. That it was their unification, their oneness with one another and with God that equipped them and empowered them to multiply at a level that is way beyond what we can comprehend even with our mind. So unification is the secret sauce, you guys. It is the kingdom baseline for multiplication. But unification starts first us being one mind, one heart, one body, one spirit with the one who created us, right? Your creator, your heavenly father. That's an internal game in the temple of your body that houses the spirit. Then we have the oneness that is unification of our husband and wife covenant, or that sacred unity, sacred unity. That's what it is. And nothing, we have to protect that marriage. We need to protect the space of our marriage, right? Our minds towards one another, our hearts towards one another, our posture towards one another, and really be, I mean, I'm going to use the word ruthless about what we allow to come in, to speak into our marriage, over our lives, to gossip, to one of us about something else that the other is doing. We have to guard our thoughts and our words towards one another, because it is a life-giving place. It is a well that is designed to multiply life. So I wanted to say all of this. I'm going long on this because God is a God of order. If you are not right inside, if you are not right inside your relationship with him, and you're asking him to go bless your business, bless this business deal, I'm telling you, it ain't going to happen. If it's going to come through, it's not going to be through his way. I mean, that's what I've witnessed in my life. We might get a hit, we may get a dose of success, but it's not going to stick. It's not going to have lasting power. It's going to be like with wings, right? It's going to be here today, gone tomorrow. Same thing. If your marriage is out of sorts, stop what you're doing, pump the brakes, pause, and get things right with your husband, with your wife. Get into oneness, get into unification, start exploring what that even means. Some of you might be wondering, I don't even know what that means. The world teaches us that, well, I just don't want to be alone. So I'm going to have this companion. I get to have this person to do life with, and, be fun. Like we'll have somebody to go on dates with, and we get to have kids. But what is the glue that holds you two together. It's crazy how many times I ask couples, what is the glue that binds the two of you, that unbreakable bond? And I'm here to tell you that if it's your children, you're in trouble, because your children are not the glue that binds you together. They're a product. They are a blessing of the Lord for a season that you get to steward, you get to pour life into, you get to raise them up to become men and women that can go out into the world, that can be, hopefully doing things for good, for the kingdom. They can be stewards of wealth, stewards of people. They can bring life to the world, not more destruction. But they're not the glue. They're they're given to us for a season, right? And they're first and foremost his children. So what is it that's going to keep you guys going, holding you together? So marriage is that second order of business that we got to get right. We got to get that right. And I just wanted to pause that if you are having a lot of grumbling at home, some symptoms that I see is a lot of miscommunication or just avoidance around key conversations that need to be had. The most popular ones are always what? Sex, money, how we're parenting our kids, what we want. I mean, those are the points of, dissension or tension. And so many of us have normalized not having these conversations, or normalized just arguing with each other or trying to talk at each other about what we want, rather than seeking to understand, seeking to get on the same page and say, okay, you know what? I may want this, you may want this. Let's see what God wants for us, right? For our marriage. What does God want for our sexual energy, our sexuality? He gave it to us. What is his design for it? What does God want for us, for the vision that he has for us? I know what I want. I know what you want. That's good. Let's go higher. Let's go beyond just me, just you. Let's go into the us. Let's go into his vision, his mind, his plan for us. Now we're actually talking, right? Now we start to actually grow exponentially, and we can start to get in alignment. We can start to get on the same team. It's very difficult if you have two people with two competing agendas that are on two different teams with different ideas and different desires and different dreams and different everything, how they parent, how they manage money, and you guys are coming together. There has to be something that you can both turn towards that's bigger than you, that has a different how, a different standard of operating, even more so than you do. Do you know what that is? Otherwise, you're just going to be competing, my way versus your way, what I want versus what you want, what I see versus what you see. Okay. This is huge in terms of getting on the same team. We've got to go beyond the two individuals, it, into the oneness, into what God had created for the two of you that are now one, of one mind. So as we think about order, God is a God of order, right? Right relationship with him, right relationship, right standing in your marriage. Where are there things that get to be cleaned up? I just want to share a couple things that I've seen through my life, through coaching. There's unresolved conflict, unresolved forgiveness, bitterness, and resentment that just keeps stacking. That's not talked about. Unresolved issues, maybe that have been hidden, swept under the rug. If you guys are lying to each other, there's not going to be blessing there. Okay. There just isn't. There needs to be truth, honor, and transparency. So, where do we get to clean that up, right? Where do we maybe get to ask for some forgiveness, ask for some grace, get some transparency going on, start to dedicate the time and the space to invest in each other, in the marriage. The other thing I see is exactly that, a lack of intentionality around spending quality time together. I don't even like that word. Let's take that back. Not spending, investing, setting aside the time, the energy, the resource to invest in the marriage, to invest in dialogue, to invest in shared conversations, shared experiences. That could be traveling together, it could be going on hikes, it could be praying together, it could be studying something together, but coming together intentionally, not just for relief, not just to escape the day, but to come together, to partner, to co-create, to build together, to reconnect, right? To come back and plug in to one another. This is huge, you guys. This is huge. So if you again are someone that's like, man, I've been wanting God to bless my business and my things, and I'm doing all these things, but you know that things are not right. You gotta start working on getting things back in order. Last two things I want to talk about here is then it's your children, right? Of course, if you have children, you have people. It's like we got to look inside of our home. We got to look at what's going on inside of our home. It breaks my heart when I think back to the years that I was so focused. I was so focused on growing my business, on being there for my teams, on being there for my clients, being there for the business. Like it owned me. They owned me. And I loved my kids. I loved my kids. But you know what? I had things inverted. I had things in the wrong order. And there were so many times that I just was so busy. I was so distracted on the other things that I wasn't paying attention to what was really going on in the lives of my children, into the friendships that they were having, the conversations, the places that they were going, the things that were being introduced into their lives. And there were all kinds of doors that were open. And there's been years that we've had to go back and do healing and cleaning up of things that entered our home that I was just unaware. You know what? We're busy. We allow kids to play games, to get introduced to different rituals and practices and sleepovers, and we don't even know, like, what are our kids watching, what games are they getting involved in, right? You don't realize that there could be all kinds of occult practices coming into your house. You don't realize your kid could be going through bouts of depression or anxiousness, or be wrestling with things inside. Do we have the time, the energy, the space curated to see our children, to build them up, to equip them in their character, to love them, to redirect them, to protect them, right? To teach them how to respect and honor themselves and God? Are we teaching our children the sacredness of sexuality? Or are we just giving up, going, you know what, man, this is the world we live in? Like, that's just how it is, right? And I got to say, like, I was like that. But now that I know how much power, how much blessing, how much peace there is when we move and operate according to kingdom principles, I can't like turn a blind eye anymore, right? Like once you know, you can't unknow. And so as we think about our marriage, then our children, right? Again, some of us have this totally inverted. Works first, then our everybody else, right? Then the money, then the car, then the stuff, then our teams, then our wives, maybe, or then our children, then our wives or husbands, and then us, and we're at the bottom, then God. And we've got this whole upside down pyramid going on where we say, well, I care about family. Faith is one of my values. Family is one of my values. My health is one of my values, but we're operating inside out and upside down. One of the exercises that I do with my clients is I actually ask them to write out their values. What are the things that you would live and die on the sword for, that you say are most important to you, the values that you stand for, and take a look at your life. Is the way that you're living a reflection of that? The truth is, most people, when we do that exercise, their pyramid is upside down, right? They're living inside out. It's no wonder you feel inside out most of the time, right? So I get it that as we start looking at this and we go, oh my gosh, like, oh, this is a lot. Like, how am I going to start? I'm so upside down. I'm so inside out. How do I start to get things back in the right order? The order of my relationship with God first, my marriage, right? My family, my internal home, the first kingdom that I've been given, right? The first people I've been called to lead. How am I doing leading my family? Are my people thriving? Before I try to go out into the world and lead the next movement, are my people thriving? I mean, I'm getting challenged on this right now again, is looking at where do I get to even pour more life into my family and really make sure that I'm secure, securing the internal kingdom, the first kingdom that God gave us, which is our children. We have 6 kids. Where's there work to do there? And then we are able to spread out and then go into more people and more places and more leadership opportunity and growing businesses and growing whatever it is, real estate, growing wealth, growing all those things, you know, then we can really focus on that. And this isn't like, okay, everything has to come to a screeching halt, but it's about putting things in the right order in terms of where we allocate our time, our energy, our attention, our focus. So I want to share these 5 things before I hop. And I mean, that could have been a podcast in itself, but here are 5 things that you can start with And I already gave you the first one. So, how are you doing? How is your heart? Right? We got to get clear on how's my relationship with myself? How's my relationship with God doing? And if you don't spend time with someone, you don't have a relationship with them, right? You have a superficial, transactional, maybe relationship. I know about you, but I don't really know you. And I want to ask you, how well do you know yourself? How well do you know God? Do you have an intimate relationship with yourself, with God? If the answer is no, I would encourage you to start spending some time in solitude. That does not mean like being plugged in with your headphones in your ears and, you know, listening to a million things. I'm talking about hanging out with yourself, noticing what comes up for you, right? Facing the things that are coming up that maybe you've been hiding from or pushing away or trying to push through. Spend time with God, hang out with God, read his word, go for walks with him again, just talk, start building a relationship. Number 3, start investing in your marriage. I really challenge you to get clear on like, what are the things that are creating division, tension, strife inside of the marriage? And if you commit to unification, to getting on the same page, to seeking to understand each other, to improving the lines of communication, the first step is just making that decision that it gets to get better. This gets to be a priority. I get to be the man or the woman that operates in order, in structure, in divine order, divine structure, right? And once we make the decision, here's the thing. Once we're clear that like this is happening, the house shows up, right? And it'll probably mean that you have to say no to some other things, and that's good. That means that you're starting to set boundaries and you're starting to protect the things that matter most, because that's what boundaries are. They're places of protection so that you protect what's on the inside, that does not get trampled on, destroyed, avoided, all the things, but you can nourish the place, the garden. That's why we have a fence around it, right? It's a place of protection. So as you start to do that, invest in your marriage and then just take a look at your children. Do I know my children? Do I know them like intimately? Do I know the heart of my son? Do I know what's in my daughter's heart, my mind? Do I know who they're speaking to? Do I know what they're chasing in the world? Do I know, like, do I know them? Do I know what they are placing their value and identity and worth on? Do I talk to them about the matters of life, of the kingdom? Or are we just talking about the latest music, the latest concert, the latest thing that happened at school? Are we asking superficial questions? Hey, how are you? How was your day? What did you do? What are you doing this weekend? What time do you work? Like, that's fine, but that's like logistics superficial. How are we getting to know our people? Are we investing in our people? Are we building them up? Right? So this is a call, this podcast today. I'm going to do this in 2 parts. Uh, it's an invitation to start to look at, where can I begin? Where do I know that I need to start getting things back in order again, right? And as you look at that first one, your relationship with yourself and God, that's where your health fits into. I just want to say that, because your body is a temple, and we cannot operate at the highest level of mental clarity, physical capacity to execute the mission, the calling, the stuff that God has for us, if we're not taking care of our health, we're not sleeping well, we're not eating, we're not nourishing ourselves, we're just not moving our bodies. You have to protect like the territory of your body, man. That's what houses the spirit. I know I've said it like 5 times today, because I think like that just needs to be nailed in, like into your mind. Like I want to hit that home. But let's start putting things back in right order. And then we can look outside and we can say, okay, great. As within, so without, right? It's the same thing that we do internally. We take that and we transfer it over to our businesses, to our companies. Do we know who we are? Do we know who we serve? Right? Are we in right relationship as an organization? Like, what are we being fueled by? Most organizations are fueled by the operating systems of the world. Some people know who they are, but a lot of companies don't, to be quite honest. I've worked with a lot of leaders, I've worked with a lot of teams, and I ask them, like, who are you guys? What do you stand for? And you get all these different questions or all these different answers. So again, as you do this work internally, it is so much easier to transfer it to your business, because now you get to know yourself, you get to invest in the people, you get to invest in the heartbeat of the company, you get to invest in clarifying what you guys stand for. And then it's parallel, right? Because I do believe that how we lead in one arena is often very much reflected in the others. And so what's going on at work is usually what's going on at home. What's going on at home is usually also what's going on at work. Okay. Especially if you're in a leadership position. So I just wanted to share this today because I think it's so important. The time, the season that we're in right now, I really believe we're in a grand restructuring. You know, I believe that God is doing a new thing in the world. He's always doing a new thing because he's God. He's always on the move. But I just really feel this. Maybe it's a season of life that I'm in, but some of us are looking outside, waiting for God to do the new thing outside. And I'm here to tell you, baby, you are the new thing. Okay, I'm going to do another episode on this, but often the things that we're praying for God to go do, he's waiting on us to realize we are the new thing. When we align our identity to the identity he has for us, when we align our heart to the matters that are important to him, when we align our thoughts and our mindset to be in alignment with the things that are true, that are worthy of praise, that are Christ centered, kingdom minded, meaning they're not fixated on the things of the world, which contract us and make us stressed out and anxious. When our beliefs align, when our focus, our eyes are on the right things, we're in that pocket again. We're in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. And this isn't about like right and wrong and doing everything perfect. It's really about a posture of our hearts, and I think that sometimes we can get caught up going like, man, how am I going to do this all right? Like I'm just a human. I'm not perfect. I can't do everything. I can't be everywhere. And that's the whole point. We can't. We cannot do it alone. If we try to do this on our own will, our own way, we're going to fall short every single time. And this isn't about perfection, but it is about awareness. It is about having our hearts in the right place, truly, and starting to restructure and realign our actions so that they match up, right, with what we say we believe, with what we tell others that we stand for. Because there's nothing worse than saying you're about something, but you're actually being about something else, right? You're living a conflicted life. This is about us getting into integrity and starting to bring ourselves into right standing, right order, without which we say we believe is true. So as I wrap today, I just want to recap a couple things. Number one is if you're feeling like, man, there is a lot of unrest, division, friction around me, I would ask you, where do you get to start getting things back in order? Because God is the God of order, right? If you're still out there trying to chase the external things without dealing with the inside, ain't going to last. Okay. You're wasting your time. It's going to be an exercise in frustration. Been there, done it over and over and over again. And this is why now it gets easier and easier to yield when I start noticing maybe there's friction. I want to wrap today with a story around this, because I actually went through this very recently, where the book launched. June 3rd was our book launch week. June 5th is my husband's birthday. So June 3rd was launch week. We got the book out. We had this huge, build up. There was a huge emotional build up to getting the book out. Wow. You don't realize how much there is behind it. So if you guys haven't gotten the book yet, get it. I'm hearing amazing things about it from people that are reading it. But, launch week sets off. We do the launch. It's amazing. And then within a couple days, like within a day or two, I start feeling really like exhausted, flu-like symptoms. Same with my husband. I'm feeling massively like my head is totally congested, right? Then it's my husband's birthday. So it's also his birthday. And I'm like, oh, I want to celebrate my husband. My kids are flying into town. So we've got 6 kids in the house. And I don't get to see all of my kids all the time because 3 of them are older. They're out of the house. So it's a real treat for me to have the kids at home. So here I am. It's the week of my book launch. It's my husband's birthday. We've got all 6 kids in the house, plus my mom. And there's, the kids want to do stuff. They don't get to see us all the time. And I'm feeling massively under the weather. It was like all the things. And I was like, God, I know the world, if I was doing this the way the world tells me, it's like, look, this is the go time. You got to push. You just got to press through. You got to do what you got to do to get this launch, to be it successful. Keep pushing. And it would have been trying to do all the things. And I would have done all the things not well. And I wouldn't have actually enjoyed or remembered most of it. And I would probably end up exhausted, frustrated, beating myself up. So I just said, God, I know that you're a God of order. I know that you're a God of order. And I released the book. I'm going to be here with my husband. It's his birthday. I want to honor him. I want to celebrate him. I want to be able to be present for him. I know that the kids are here. They're at such a, sensitive time. I want to make sure that I'm there to have conversations with them and just really enjoy the fruit of this season, right? Enjoy the fruit of the book being out, of all the work. Enjoy the fruit of this marriage, being able to enjoy this moment with my husband, being able for us to enjoy our children. Oh, by the way, we ended up going to like a Life Surge with everybody, which was awesome. Life Surge is like a full day personal training and development day of worship and wealth creation. So it was super cool to be there as a family. We went to the beach. It was just a really full week, a rich week as a family, as a couple, a really fulfilling week. And at the same time, I took my foot off the gas in terms of the business stuff, like the book stuff. I just let it be. I said, Lord, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to let you focus on the rest. I know that this thing is going to be alive. It's not going anywhere. I can rest, right? I can rest this week. I can be fully present here, and I can just trust that's what meant to be. It's meant to be. Next week, when I get better, I will get back at it. And I feel like I had so much peace around that decision. I had so much peace around that decision. And, my old self would have really, really, really fought that and struggled with that. But I want to say, like, I had so much freedom in that. I got so much joy out of that week. I had so much peace because I gave myself permission. And I just chose to focus on the things that mattered most. So I want to encourage you today, if you're feeling in some kind of tension, between having to be everywhere for all the things, you are still human. You can't be everywhere all the time. Sometimes we need to make some tough decisions. Sometimes we need to say no right now to something so that we can say yes to the thing that matters most. And if we look at it through the lens of God, and I remember he is in all places at all time, so wherever I can't be, he can be, right? He is all knowing, all powerful, all able to do all things, whereas I'm not always able to do that. So if I focus on the key things in the right order, I can trust that he will handle the other things, right? And that's such a beautiful feeling, that knowing, like, he's not after my perfection, he's after my heart. So is my heart focused on the right things, right? Am I operating in the right order? And I felt like, yeah, that was a yes last week. So, you guys, I hope that today was helpful for you. It was cool to be back on a solo cast. I love having these riff conversations or just dialogues, monologues, whatever they are with you. If this message landed for you, I'd love for you to share it with somebody, pass it on, share this message with somebody. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have a YouTube channel if you guys like to see me on video and connect with me over on YouTube. The Christine Jewell. Check it out. Until next time, as always, if you want support, click on the link below. Let's get connected. Book a discovery call to see if our roundtable mastermind coaching program is for you. I work exclusively with a handful of people at a time to do this exact work, right? To get their life, their internal house in order so that there could be more flow, more prosperity, more multiplication in you and around you. Until next time, here's to loving fiercely, leading courageously. Bye for now.